Welcome and thank you for joining us today for the New South Wales Small Business Innovation Research Program webinar. My name is Lewis Bennett. I'm a Senior Project Officer at the Office of the New South Wales Chief Scientist and Engineer. I'd like to begin today by acknowledging that today we meet on many Aboriginal lands. I myself am joining the meeting from the traditional land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Just some housekeeping before we start. Today's webinar will consist of a 10-minute presentation overview of the SBIR program, followed by a presentation from the Challenge Agency, and we'll finish with roughly 30 minutes of question time. Today's webinar is recorded and will be available on the New South Wales SBIR website in the coming days. If you'd like to ask a question, please type it in the Q&A box at the right hand of your screen during the presentation. Today's webinar will focus on the challenge from Transport for New South Wales involving a school zone alerting system. We will hold a Q&A session right after their challenge presentation where I will either you can indicate with a reaction your hand up or have questions in the chat and I'll allow you to come off mute and ask that question to either myself or the Challenge Agency. We'll be answering as many of your questions as we can during the Q&A session, and if we don't have time to get to your question live, we'll answer any remaining questions and include the responses in the transcript available on the website. Please note closed captions are available. Click on the CC box at the right-hand corner of your screen. I will now be running you through the details of the SBIR program before we discuss the specific SBIR challenge for today. At the end of today's session, again, there will be an opportunity to ask questions, both of myself about the SBIR challenge and the Challenge Agency. The SBIR program is managed by the Office of the Chief Scientist and Engineer. This office has 4 distinct functions. We produce evidence-based scientific advice to the New South Wales Government on a range of challenges. We support New South Wales research, attracting research talent and infrastructure through managing the Research Attraction and Acceleration Program, and we promote science outreach and education for both students and the general public. And finally, we work alongside academia, government and industry to drive the commercialisation of research excellence in New South Wales. The Small Business Innovation and Research Program, SBIR, is an initiative of the New South Wales Government that provides competitive grants to small and medium-sized enterprises to find and commercialise innovative solutions to well-defined problems for the New South Wales Government. The 2022 SBIR program will provide up to $12 million in grants to New South Wales SMEs to solve the 7 New South Wales government challenges. The establishment of the SBIR program was recommended as a priority action of the Turning Ideas into Jobs, Accelerating Research and Development in New South Wales Action Plan. This action plan was developed by the Accelerating R&D in New South Wales Advisory Council, a group of leaders with experience in research, the innovation ecosystem and government policy. The New South Wales SBIR program is currently in its 2nd year and is modelled on similar successful Australian and international examples, including the Commonwealth Business Research and Innovation Initiative, the SBIR program in the United States, and the Small Business Research Initiative in the United Kingdom. The SBIR program is an important element of the New South Wales Government's approach to increase innovation and prosperity in New South Wales. Innovation generates the products and services crucial for future jobs and industries, and research and development undertaken in businesses and research organisations is a major source of innovation and should be supported for the whole community and economy to thrive. The SBIR program's primary objective is to tap into New South Wales small to medium enterprises R&D to address the needs of the New South Wales Government, with the aim of procuring these solutions at the end. Other benefits to the program include an increase in innovation within government and an increase in economic development in New South Wales. This year, 2022, there are 7 SBIR challenges. Proposed solutions must address one of these 7. Each challenge describes a current New South Wales government agency problem requiring an innovative solution. The 7 challenges are waste recovery and management from HealthShare New South Wales, biosecurity surveillance from the Department of Primary Industries, cultural and linguistic diversity services from New South Wales Health, recycled content verification from the Office of Energy and Climate Change, the School Zone Alerting System Challenge from Transport for New South Wales, urban heat island remediation from Greater Cities Commission, and non-invasive vital sign monitoring from Corrective Services. Later in the seminar, we will discuss today's challenge, the School Zone Alerting System, in more detail. The benefits of the New South Wales SBIR program for participating SMEs include up to $1.1 million in grant funding to develop and commercialise a new technology or service. They get to work alongside the New South Wales government to pilot and test solutions with the potential of the New South Wales government contract for successful solutions. And finally, they get to develop and retain the intellectual property rights and the right to commercialise and sell their solution in both the domestic and global markets. There are also benefits for the New South Wales government, which include greater access to innovative solutions to policy and service delivery challenges. We also get insight into different problem-solving approaches through working directly with SMEs. And finally, it's a sustainable ongoing job creation mechanism. Our measures of success for the SBIR program, then, are more SMEs established and growing their R&D activities and jobs in New South Wales, new SMEs translating more ideas into innovative products and services, and finally, the New South Wales government agencies being able to deliver better services to the New South Wales community by using innovative solutions. The SBIR program has 3 phases. The first is the feasibility study. SMEs submit proposals to solve one of the 7 challenges. These proposals are assessed, first against each challenge, and then highlighting proposals that are particularly promising, with each successful applicant receiving a grant of up to $100,000 to conduct a feasibility study over 3 months. This feasibility study is really a way for these SMEs to showcase their technology and their solution and how it would work to solve this challenge. Our aim is that we would have 2 SMEs completing a feasibility study for each challenge, and at least 1 for each challenge progressing to the next stage, the proof of concept. The proof of concept phase is where successful feasibility study grantees are invited to apply for the proof of concept. Applicants are assessed, and successful proof of concept grantees will receive up to $1 million to develop a proof of concept over a period of up to 15 months. The final phase is procurement, where the New South Wales Government Agency will consider purchasing a successful solution. As SBIR participants complete their feasibility studies and proofs of concept, the New South Wales Government Agency and SBIR team will work closely with them to provide advice and input and to help them develop their solutions. This occurs via both formal monthly check-ins and updates with all participants, and also through informal interactions and assistance. Post-SBIR, participants are encouraged to take their solutions to other customers and markets. The challenges have been specifically chosen so that they encourage solutions that not only the New South Wales Government would consider procuring, but also solutions that could be commercialised and sold to customers beyond the New South Wales Government. Applicants must meet the 5 eligibility criteria, which include having an ABN, being a small to medium organisation with less than 200 full-time employees, and being headquartered or conducting the majority of business within New South Wales. You'll note there's also an item about IP. When we say hold the IP, we don't need that you need to formally hold this IP through a patent, but we want to make sure that you aren't violating someone else's intellectual property. If you're using your technology, whether patented or not, that's fine. If you're using someone else's technology, that's also fine as long as you have a license and or right to commercialize. For more information and to view the full eligibility criteria, please refer to the 2022 New South Wales SBIR Program guidelines available on the SBIR website. Applications for feasibility study grants will be evaluated against the following three overarching criteria. First is solution details. Please describe your proposed solution and how it addresses the challenge. Describe your solution's current technical readiness and what level you hope to achieve during the study. Additionally, try to include what makes your solution more innovative and superior to what's currently on the market. Secondly, the commercial details. Could you describe the commercial potential of your product and your plan for commercialization, including adoption and scaling of your product and service? The priority is first on meeting the needs of the government challenge and then on wider market opportunities. Additionally, please identify potential commercialization barriers and how these might be mitigated. And finally, on delivery, we need to know, does your company and project team have the appropriate skills and experience? And do you have access to the equipment, technology, infrastructure, and financial resources needed to carry out the project? At this stage, you will be asked to provide a basic project plan, including a budget, risk management plan, and performance measures. We also ask applicants to submit some supporting materials, specifically a video presentation no longer than 3 minutes, and a project budget. Applicants may also be required to provide a profit and loss statements and balance sheets from the last 2 years where these are applicable and available. Eligible applicants will be assessed by both the New South Wales Government agency that proposed the challenge and an independent panel of experts with experience in business development, commercialization, venture capital, and entrepreneurship. In terms of writing the application, we would recommend avoiding the use of overly technical and scientific terms, as the application will be assessed by a wide audience, including non-technical and non-commercial people. There should be a focus first on meeting the needs of the challenge, and please include any details and data to support your claim. Each question in the application form states which assessment criterion it's being scored against. Try and respond as directly and succinctly as possible to each question. There is a word limit for each question. Try to use this word limit fully to make the strongest case for your solution. And finally, any additional documentation to support your solution, there is an opportunity to add additional documents, but please make sure that you have referenced this throughout the application and that they are clearly labelled, such as if you have a detailed business plan. Finally, please read the 2022 New South Wales SBIR Program guidelines before applying. The guidelines set out the SBIR program process and requirements in detail, including the eligibility and assessment criteria, how we assess applications, how we notify applicants and enter into grant agreements with grantees, how we monitor and evaluate performance, responsibilities and expectations in relation to the opportunity. You may also wish to consult the New South Wales SBIR FAQs available on our website. When you're ready to apply, you can find the online application form on our website, chiefscientist.nsw.gov.au/SBIR. Applications close at 9:59 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday, the 28th of February 2023. Thank you for your time today. I'll now pass over to the Challenge Agency, who'll talk through their challenge for today's webinar. Please put any questions in the chat that you have during the presentation, and we'll address them at the end. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Wonderful, Lewis. Thank you. This is Raj Roy Chowdhury. I'm from Transport for New South Wales, and today with me we have Goran Pisovsky, Tim Banker, David Eldridge, Dominic Potter, and amongst the four of us, along with Lewis, we should be able to answer most questions that come up today after this presentation. So we just get started, Lewis. I'm ready to go. Yeah, Transport would also pay its respects to elders past and present and recognise and celebrate the diversity of Aboriginal peoples and their ongoing cultures and connections to the land and waters of New South Wales. So it's quite a comprehensive presentation today. We're going to be extremely transparent with what we've done, where we've come from with the school zone program and where we want to head to. If you look on the right, we've got some photographs. You can see the two static signs on the extreme right. So they show that most school zones have the yellow banner and have the fixed times of 8 to 9:30 and 2:30 to 4. But there are schools that have different times. And then we put that in red text. Now, there are two types of flashing signs or alert devices that we have on school zones. One's just this pair of flashing lights. And sometimes we also introduce a flashing annulus with the red LEDs to make it a little more conspicuous. So we'll just go through some of the project background. So the school zone is an important safety measure to improve safety of road users around school zones. School zone alert system controls the flashing lights to alert the motorists to slow down to 40 kilometers and sometimes 30 kilometers where signposted around school zones during school operation hours. It's been operational for a long time. 2006 is when we started to include flashing lights. In 2011, we've got a huge asset base now. There's approximately 6,800 of these right across New South Wales. So every school in New South Wales has at least one pair of them in one zone. And some larger schools with busier arterial roads have 2 or 3 zones. The system is maintained by some of our external maintenance providers via a contract, and we call that the SRAP contract, which is a Sydney Roads Asset Performance Contract. The system is aging, as you can tell from us putting up this challenge. The cost of maintenance is increasing. There's lack of information around some of the systems and maintenance. And there's a little bit of lack of standardization because of the different phases of when we introduce different systems into this network. So there's 2 generations of devices. There's the legacy device. There's about 1,700 of them, which is version 1, and they are approaching the end of life. And then the current version, which is about 5,000 of them. So there's multiple systems to manage the system overall, or the system program. There's an in-house developed central management computer, which is the heart of the system, and it was developed by a third party for us back in 2011. The faults are captured by the central management system and are transported to another system at our transport management center, which is a fault management system, which is called PEGA, or Pegasus, from the company that gave us that system. It generates work orders, which is then sent to our maintenance providers. So we can do different work baskets for different providers, depending on which assets they look after. They then have their own third-party systems for managing the workflow. And we also have a web application called OT Connect to capture incidents that are raised by third-party people, which is usually school principals or the members of the public. We'll go on to the next one. Okay, sorry about this now, guys. This is a bit of a busy slide, but that central management system is that green box in the center. And you can see to the left of it, we've got the school zone alerts signs. So there's lots of them, 6,800 of them. But if you go to the right, on the top, you can see that our Transport for New South Wales road safety system people, they generate a lot of reports. So they do a lot of planning activities, they do a lot of performance checks, and to also make sure that these systems are effective, and they compare it to crash data, near misses, incidents around schools. One thing to note that these systems are enforceable. So there are speed cameras on several of them. So the system has to have a high level of assurance for those fines to go out. You can see that where we say Transport for New South Wales, we'd like to call ourselves the system managers. We do all sorts of things to the system, and mainly is to update the calendar, add new devices, and take up devices when they are out of service. Down the bottom, was that fault management system, Pegasus or PEGA FMS that I spoke to you about. So that pushes out faults to our maintainers, and then the maintainers have their own work breakdown systems to manage their devices that they are responsible for. Next. Okay, so the constraints are any future school zone alert system shall incorporate the updated 4G connectivity module installed as part of the replacement of communications technology program, if it is fit for purpose, and some of them are satellite. Now, this is something we're already doing. most of these signs with 3G, and with 3G coming to end of life, we're upgrading them to 4G. So we're hoping that we do not have to spend extra money with new modems for 4G. We're doing that currently. The school zone alert system is intended to operate across the entire state of New South Wales in both metropolitan and regional areas, which is important to note. The regional areas can be quite challenging. If you know what every school means, there are quite a few of these that have only satellite coverage, and they're on unsealed roads. You can use this current structures if the width loading, weight, and space limits allow for it. The school alert devices will be operating in a very harsh outdoor environment, so you will need to function correctly with a broad range of temperature, humidity, pressure, and windy conditions. And the school's system must comply with Transport for New South Wales cybersecurity standards. And we can post them in the chat later if anybody has questions on them. Next. Okay, so the problem statement: obsolescence of comms, device, and software. So 6,500 devices are working on 3G, so they're being upgraded by this replacement of obsolete communications technology program. The central management computer system is obsolete now because it was built a long time ago, and it's served us well to date, but it needs an uplift. And by 2023, 48% of these devices will be greater than 10 years of life, and our specifications call for a design life of 10 years, so we know we've got to upgrade most of these devices. There's custom network protocol, so it's not an open protocol. And there's two different versions of them depending on the timing of when these systems were introduced. So there is lack of standardization, which makes the hardware mix a little more complicated in the field. The constraints due to the hardware design is that we don't get enough information from these systems. I mean, they served us well for the time, but you can do a lot more these days with hardware. And there's a limited hardware interface options for sensors. So these days you can put a lot of sensors and then they get a lot more information for planning and for managing the safety around schools, so we want to derive some of those benefits. And the legacy signs are vendor proprietary designs, and so we have limited flexibility to adapt with current and evolving landscapes and standards. And the constraints due to the software, there's a lack of automation to update the asset inventory. As you can imagine, we're constantly adding new schools. It's not so easy to do it on the system anymore. The new mobility features, for the field engineers, they want to use things like apps on their mobile phones, tablets, /Android pads. So we need to be able to give them these modern day facilities. There's lack of integration capability, as we spoke to, between systems. And this impacts on the mean time between failure and the mean time to repair metrics, because there's just not enough information coming in a timely manner like we would expect today. Next. So what are the outcomes and opportunities Transport for New South Wales is seeking innovative solutions to improve the existing school zone alert system, to further improve road safety by protecting pedestrians and road users. So what are we interested in? An innovative and interoperable end-to-end system. So we're up for anything and everything you can propose for the systems, or purpose some specific elements only in hardware or software. Achieve cost savings by reducing the whole of life maintenance costs, repair time, and standardizing different types of signs. An advanced software management system that can provide more back-end functionality for remote diagnostics, control, and management features, including asset maintenance and management, because asset bears the brunt of the cost for the lifecycle management of these systems. Real-time data gathering and analytics from the local infrastructure with sensors and opportunities to develop integrated Internet of Things platform that is scalable to expand safety use cases around school zones. The technology has broader applications for dynamic signage, such as fire danger, flood warning, and roadwork signage, which requires the ability to monitor conditions and adjust remotely. In addition to the assistance with remote diagnostics, cloud solutions can offer. Next. So who are the stakeholders? So within transport, there's a heap of stakeholders. Like we said, the Centre for Road Safety are the main drivers for the system. We have our ITS projects team that delivers programs for these, the ITS engineering team that sets the standard specifications, and the assurance program for these systems. The schools on crossing supervisors, who are our biggest point of feedback if the system doesn't automatically report issues like vandalism. We have a network and safety services right around Transport for New South Wales. Our Transport Management Centre fields most of the telephone calls, so the more information they have, the better in advance. Our greatest and the asset team who fund the program, our IT team who are responsible for the communications and cybersecurity, and we have our maintenance service providers, which we call the SRAP contractors. There's 3 of them right across the state. Our camera enforcement branch, because they need to ensure that when they issue fines, the system was working as expected. And we have another telecommunications team called our Operational Technology Network team. The external school stakeholders are mainly the road users and the pedestrians around schools, the schools themselves, especially the teachers and the school principals that look after children safety during morning and afternoon school start and finish times. Our environmental branch, a lot of utility services that we have to look at when we're installing new systems, lots of community and stakeholder engagement. If there is a school zone sign, the community expects them to be working at all times. So we get a lot of irate community stakeholders that sometimes get upset if it takes us too long to attend to these issues. The police get involved, especially with safety. These are mainly on local council roads, so council are the major stakeholder when we install most of these signs, and then there's the minister's office who fields most of the media inquiries. Next, Lewis. So let's go back to the users now. So who are the users? We spoke about them. It's the vehicle users who are trying to reduce their speed to 40 or 30. The pedestrians themselves that are crossing the road, which is mainly the parents and the school children. There's us, the system managers. There's our maintenance contractors. There's the schools themselves who have a big stake in what the functionality of their school zone should be and what level of reliability they're after. Our road safety people who do a lot of planning and analysis to make sure that these systems are effective, and obviously our compliance managers to make sure that the system is functioning as it should to deliver the safety benefits. Next, Lewis. If you look at the community use case, the road vehicle user, the system informs me that the school zone is active and provides me enough time to assess and comply with the instructions. The pedestrian, the school is safer to use, so they expect it to be safe when they're crossing. And the school principal, I want to get an update of the status of the school zone alert device. Next. If you look at us, Transport for New South Wales, as the system managers, we want the system to inform us when it has faults and immediately. We want information and options to be able to triage faults quickly, schedule repairs in an efficient way, generate some reports on performance through dashboards, predict and update parts inventory, because as you can see, it's a very large asset base. Provide an up-to-date situational awareness of all school zone locations, like on a 3D, on a map. Provide local information for each school zone location and its settings, and add and remove and update information for school zone alerts device systems. Next. And in terms of the maintainer, as I said, the maintainer would like a system that's very informative in terms of what they need to do before they get to the site to repair one of these signs. So they would like all the faults, installations and schedule dates of when these systems went in, log into individual signs and locations to conduct remote analysis and treatments, update the maintenance schedules, update the fault information, provide up-to-date situational awareness of the locations, provide information for each school zone location and its settings, and update and track spares and inventory for each area zone. Next, please. And what do our planning people want? So they want lots and lots of information to analyze. So generate and display performance through a unified dashboard, provide an up-to-date situational awareness again, provide local information for each school zone location and setting, and provide report incident information. And currently, we don't have too many KPIs for the system. The system's there is one that asset holders do, and that is to make sure that the system is 98% available and the high availability, because like I said, the community expectation is very high of the system. So we'll summarize now the high-level requirements of what we're looking for. So the solution should provide ease of device and parts replacement in the event of faulty device. Device and parts should be available of common off-the-shelf as far as practical. The solution and technology should be easily supportable and maintainable. The solution should be easy to use and enable remote access to the devices for tasks listed below. So for the device health monitoring, detecting, analyzing, triaging, and assigning faults, and deploying firmware updates and repairs remotely. Reporting solutions should be available via the current transport tool, i.e. Power BI, but we're pretty flexible here, so don't let that hold you back. The system should be an improvement over the current system in terms of the reliability and availability across the whole of its life. So we're looking for cost savings. Each location should have the ability for dynamic calendar management. Some schools have different term times, important to note. Maintenance should occur when schools are off, e.g. firmware upgrades or major changes. We do that during the school holiday period. For any changes, there should be planned unified rollouts of school zone alert system devices, and reporting solution should provide the details below. The sign ID, the standard time or non-standard time, timetables, locations, number of flashing signs in a school zone, schedule of flashing lights and its deployments, number of speed cameras and its locations, if the speed cameras are deployed, traffic information of the vehicles, whether they are complying to the speed, the volume of the vehicles, the type of the vehicles would be good to know. Next, Lewis. We continue on. The solution and technology shall be able to provide predictive alert for the school zone alert system is likely to fail. So we call this reliability-centered maintenance. The KPIs report shall be easily extracted from the system, shall be included besides the availability. We want to know how long it takes to repair and how many signs are working at any given time. The school should be informed regarding the maintenance activities. Council should be involved and be informed for any changes that would affect them. The reporting solution should be able to provide fault report diagnostics, operational and non-operational status, and periods historically and in real time for each alert device. The solution shall provide an automated and reliable process for timetable creation. The network protocols in the school zone alert signs devices should be able to be standardized. The school zone alert system and associated processes should be simplified and integrated with the Transport for New South Wales operational technology ecosystem for better insight and predictive maintenance capability. Like I said, most of these systems end up with questions to our TFC, so the more integrated the system is with our transport architecture, the better for us. There should be asset security and condition monitoring to address vandalism and theft, and these could be by the form of cameras or other sensors. And the solution shall meet Transport for New South Wales cybersecurity and operational technology requirements. So as you know, like for most organizations, Transport for New South Wales is pretty strict with its cybersecurity requirements and will post those standards. And the solution shall be able to be installed and maintained without the need for specialist skill sets or specialist tools. It's because these are so remote and so far away, some of them, that you sometimes are relying on people with very basic skills to install and maintain them. And I think that could be it, Lewis, if I'm not mistaken.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Raj. I would ask now if anyone has any questions, please write them in the chat or indicate with a reaction that you'd like to ask a question. This could be to myself or Raj or another member of the Challenge Agency regarding either the SBIR program or this specific challenge. If we have no questions, that would indicate, Raj, you did a splendid job of being really clear about what the challenge needs. I will thank... Oh, we have a hand up. Simon.
Yes, hello.
Welcome.
As a provider of sort of similar systems to this, we would normally do something like this, but also provide a in-service support contract and be involved with the installation as well. Is that sort of considered part of the scope of this, or is it more you just want a product that you can manage yourself?
Simon, that's a very good question. So the initial challenge, I'll let Goran jump in as well, is for a solution, but that's not to say that the people that are providing the solution won't become the installers and the maintainers of the system. Our installation and maintenance is done by that SRAP contract, and they usually do go to subcontractors to get that done. So I couldn't see why that would not be the case to continue on if the offering was very good. But Goran, any more to add to that?
Yeah, just echoing your stuff, Raj. Look, nothing is off the table, so we would discuss that and the viability and what the cost could be. So yeah, let's have a look at the solution, propose it by all means, and then we can assess it on its merits.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
We have a question from Ali. Would you like to come offline and off mute and ask that question in person?
Hello, this is Ali. Thank you for the presentation. Very clear. But my question is in relation to your service providers, current service providers. I'm wondering whether any of your current service provider have started to do any of, for example, solving this problem, or have thought anything about what you are proposing here?
Maybe Tabenka Goran might know a little more about what the service providers are doing.
Service providers, because you have quite nearby 7,000 of these current available service there, and you have quite a lot of companies that they are maintaining and they are providing this service to you. I'm wondering, either those companies going to involve in this project, or even though they have started to think about what you are proposing today?
In relation to this challenge, possibly not, because some of them might not meet the criteria that Lewis has spoken about earlier around employees and top of that. To my knowledge, no one's come to us from those internal providers with a whole life solution or a holistic solution. So no at this stage, but that doesn't mean there hasn't been some similar proposals put forward. So look, to answer your questions, no, not really. Otherwise, we probably would have not come to the challenge. So, and remembering that the SRAP contract has just recently started, not long ago, so there was a transition of contracts and coming over. So they're taking these types of assets on for the first time in terms of the contract.
Thank you.
We also have a question from Tom. Tom, are you there, or shall I read your question? Does the solution have to have the same optical appearance in regards to flashing and unlicensed flashing lights?
Look, I don't think so. If there's a better way of improving safety for the motorists and the pedestrians and the school children, no, I don't think that should be a restriction. That should be part of the innovation. Lewis?
Fantastic, thank you. If we have any further questions, now would be a great time to ask. If you have any other questions after this webinar, please send them through to the SBIR mailbox. We will either forward them onto the challenge agency if that's necessary, or answer them ourselves. Any questions answered in this way will be updated on the website in our FAQ. Simon.
Yeah, sorry, just one further question. You've listed off a number of sort of extra capabilities or censoring systems that you'd like to maybe consider. Is there any sort of prioritization around some might be more attractive to you than others? And clearly, I'm thinking, putting words into your mouth, I guess, is that you're looking for some kind of cost benefit from each. Is that, for example, you can add cameras to it, but then there's a lot more cost as far as data transfer and that sort of thing. So, is there any more sort of indications around prioritizing and sort of cost versus value interest?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, Simon. Besides the cost budget, we also have a solar budget that we've got to think about, because these are not powered devices. They stand alone. But there are a lot of sensors these days that would be very beneficial with the IoT space. So we think that getting a bit of traffic information of speed compliance and the number of vehicles, the types that are going through a school zone would be useful. Obviously, also pedestrian counts maybe. But I'll be thinking of things like that. But if you've got other ideas, please put them forward.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
And Raj makes a good point. If I can add, I think power consumption is a big problem, and so making sure that the solar panel can take the power that you possess. So you may have a compelling argument to put a camera in there, and it's a good sort of benefit. So the cost outweighs the benefit outweighs the cost. However, if it's going to be a big draw on the solar panels, and that could be a prohibitor to most people anyway.
So have you released information on what your solar panel power outputs, and I assume there's a battery system attached to that as well? Do you have any are you able to release that sort of information?
We can put the links to the specifications for these devices. It gives you a fair guide, Simon. So,
Yep.
Tivenka, I don't know if you can readily do that, or we'll follow up through those links.
Yeah, I can put it in the chat. Right, thanks.
Done.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you.
And we've got a question from a hand raised from Tom.
Yep. Sorry, I've sorted out my technology now. You mentioned solar power, so all the solution has to be solar power, not mains powered on some locations, or a bit of both?
It should be both, because we have some zones operating 8 hours a day. So yeah, so it should support both mains and solar ideally. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hey guys, one more question. Just on that same vein, as you're wanting to keep your current 4G modem solution, maybe are you able to release what the model and spec is of that modem, just to ensure compatibility?
Yeah, sure. We can share the product information, but essentially what we want is like the new device shall support 4G or 5G. That's what the main requirement is, I think.
So you're wanting to replace the modem or keep the existing modem? Just to be clear.
Ideally, because we are procuring the modem, so to help save money, I think we would use the new 4G compatible modems. I think that would be it. So I think we could share that. I don't think what we need to do before we do share it, just check whether there's an issue for probity and bits and pieces. But ideally, we could say, if you assume that the 4G modem would be provided by us to a degree, which is these devices, that could be a good assumption.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Tom's hand is still up. I don't know if that's a new question or the previous one. I see.
No, sorry, it's the previous one.
If that's all the questions, I'd just like to thank Raj and Goran and team for coming online and presenting today and answering questions. Thank you for your assistance, and it's been fantastic working with you. And I'd like to thank everyone else for attending today and your spending your time.